Thanks, I have to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, you were in the chair yesterday as well. It's of no thanks to the nationalist parties that we have achieved these concessions. They were giving me grief yesterday, as usual, because their tactic, as ever, is to engage not in the legislative process and in seeking improvements, but in the politics of grievance. Despite being in government in Scotland themselves and having a sizable parliamentary group here, it's always somebody else's fault, isn't it, Madam Deputy Speaker? They sit at the back of the bus with their arms folded, shouting at others in order to get a bit of clickbait for social media, which I'm sure was what they were doing yesterday. So be in no doubt that we have led the charge in opposing this bill. We have led the government to the improvements and changes that we have seen today. And it's far from perfect, but it is much better. And that's because we do have to actually live with this bill in the coming years to come. But the government must reflect too, because their starting point couldn't have got this more wrong. Devolution and power sharing is about finding common ground and agreement even with those from other political parties who were democratically elected, like the Nationalist Party, which we might not agree with. Trying to power grab and hug powers close doesn't defeat one's opponents, it gives them more oxygen, it gives them more grievance. So we accept these improvements to date, but we do note that they start from a very bad starting point. And some might describe it, as we say up north, Madam Deputy Speaker, as trying to polish a turd. Thank you.
And it's incredible to hear from the Labour front bench, them trying to take credit. They say they led the way. No, they've actually paved the way for this bill to do that to the Scottish Parliament. And they talk about the guile that they've shown. Well, it's gall that they have when they talk about this. You can understand, Madam Deputy Speaker, why they only have one MP in Scotland. Because the Labour front bench spent more of their time, rather than taking this bill apart, which should have been done, but talking about the democratically elected members of the Parliament that are here. And vastly more in numbers, as I've pointed out, than the one they have in Scotland. They're not listening to Scotland, they never do, and of course they've allowed this aberration to come forward in the way it has by abstaining in the House of Lords.
And appalling, too, I have to say this, that the loyal and spineless opposition betrayed generations of Scottish Labour activists and politicians who fought to establish devolution, who battled their own party sometimes, but who learned to work across civic Scotland to deliver it. I think they must not have heard the warnings of Scottish Labour action that a powerful, devolved administration in Scotland wasn't a frippery, but an absolutely essential counterpoint to Westminster and Whitehall blindness to issues anywhere outside of the southeast of England. Now, I expect nothing better from the Tories, but the Labour Party has betrayed its own members and the activists who spent so long on the Colton Hill vigil. This desperate attempt to appeal to Tory values to try to bury the incompetence of the previous leadership might seem a decent old political strategy, but it renders the existence of the Labour Party utterly meaningless.
Now, despite what the Shadow Minister said, Labour did not lead the way in this. Labour gave up in devolution and they gave up in other places. They didn't even back Monmouth Friend in the Reasons Committee. Labour sat in their hands in the vote in the Reasons Committee as well. And I'll quote Lord Stevenson, we won't divide the House. That is given up. And what Labour gave up on yesterday in the Lords